I knew I was in trouble the moment Jason's hand lingered on my lower back. Not because it was inappropriate, we'd been sleeping together for months, but because I felt nothing. The electric spark that once shot through me at his touch had vanished, replaced by a hollow emptiness that terrified me more than any fire alarm ever could. "You look stunning tonight, Alyssa," he whispered, his breath warm against my ear. The annual holiday party buzzed around us, a sea of colleagues in festive attire, clutching flutes of mediocre champagne. I forced a smile. "Thanks. You clean up nice yourself." The words felt mechanical leaving my mouth. Jason Bennett, the charismatic CEO who'd swept me off my feet 11 months ago, stood before me in a perfectly tailored suit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. His salt and pepper hair was styled just so, and his cologne, something expensive and woody, enveloped me like a familiar blanket. Every woman in the room stole glances at him. I used to feel special being the one he chose to look at. Now I just felt tired. "I need to mingle," he said, squeezing my hip before disappearing into the crowd. I watched him work the room, stopping to chat with board members, laughing at the right moments, touching arms and shoulders with practiced precision. The man was a master at making everyone feel important. It had worked on me, too. "Earth to Alyssa." Callie appeared beside me, 2 fresh drinks in hand. "You're staring again." I accepted the champagne gratefully. "Just observing the Jason Bennett show. It's quite the performance." Callie sipped her drink, eyeing me over the rim. "You okay? You seem off tonight." "I'm fine." I wasn't. The truth was, I'd been feeling this disconnect for weeks. Something about Jason and me had shifted, and I couldn't pinpoint when or why. "If you say so." Callie didn't believe me. Best friends rarely do. "Isaiah was looking for you earlier. Something about the Peterson account." I groaned. Can't escape work even at the holiday party. That's what happens when you're the rising star of marketing. She nudged my shoulder playfully. I spotted Isaiah across the room, deep in conversation with the CFO. At 45, my mentor had the kind of wisdom that came from navigating corporate politics for 2 decades. He'd taken me under his wing 3 years ago, and I owed much of my success to his guidance. "I'll catch him later," I said, not wanting to interrupt. The evening continued its predictable course. Speeches from executives, an awkward gift exchange, increasingly loud conversations as the alcohol flowed freely. I played my part, networking and laughing at jokes that weren't funny, all while feeling increasingly detached from the scene around me. At 10:17 p.m., everything changed. The fire alarm blared through the hotel ballroom, its piercing wail cutting through music and chatter. For a moment, everyone froze, exchanging confused glances, wondering if this was some planned entertainment. Then we smelled the smoke. "Everyone remain calm and proceed to the nearest exit," a hotel staff member announced, voice steady but urgent. The room erupted into controlled chaos. I lost sight of Jason in the crowd as we all moved toward the exits. Outside in the December chill, I hugged my arms around myself, my thin cocktail dress offering little protection against the winter air. "Alyssa?" Callie pushed through the crowd toward me. "Are you okay?" "Yeah," I nodded, watching as flames became visible through the ballroom's windows. "Do they know what happened? Kitchen fire, apparently." She shivered beside me. "Have you seen Jason?" I scanned the crowd, spotting familiar faces from marketing, finance, and sales. No Jason. Not since before the alarm. Sirens wailed in the distance as fire trucks approached. Hotel staff distributed emergency blankets to guests shivering in evening wear. I wrapped mine tightly around my shoulders, the metallic material crinkling with each movement. My phone buzzed in my clutch. Probably Jason, I thought, fumbling to retrieve it with cold fingers. The email notification on my screen wasn't from Jason. The sender was unfamiliar. ebennett@gmail.com. E. Bennett. Eloise Bennett? Jason's wife. My stomach dropped. Ex-wife, he'd told me. They'd been separated for over a year, divorce nearly finalized. That's what he'd said when we first started seeing each other. The subject line read, "What Jason Bennett doesn't want you to know." My thumb hovered over the notification, heart hammering against my ribs. Around me, colleagues murmured about the fire, about ruined plans and smoke-damaged clothes. None of it registered. The world had narrowed to just my phone screen and that email. "Alyssa?" Callie's voice seemed distant. "You look like you've seen a ghost." I glanced up, searching the crowd one more time. This time I found him, Jason, standing across the parking lot, phone pressed to his ear, gesturing animatedly. As if sensing my gaze, he turned. Our eyes locked for a brief moment before his expression changed from surprise to something darker. He ended his call abruptly and started walking toward me. I looked back at my phone and opened the email. The email loaded painfully slowly, each second stretching into eternity as Jason made his way through the crowd toward me. My fingers trembled, not from the cold but from the dread pooling in my stomach. "I think you should know the truth about the man you're sleeping with." The first line hit me like a slap. Below it were 3 attachments and a message that turned my insides to ice. "Jason and I are still very much married. The separation is a convenient fiction he uses with women like you. I've attached our most recent family photo, 2 months ago, our joint tax filing from last month, and a screenshot of his text to me from yesterday about our anniversary plans next week. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this. You're not the first, and you won't be the last." I stared at the words, reading them again and again, as if they might rearrange themselves into something less devastating. With numb fingers, I opened the first attachment. There they were, Jason, Eloise, and their teenage son at what looked like a lakeside cabin, arms around each other, smiling. The date stamp showed it was taken 8 weeks ago, when Jason had told me he was at a conference in Seattle. "Alyssa." His voice cut through my shock. Jason stood before me now, concern etched across his features so convincingly that for a second I questioned the evidence on my phone. "Are you okay? I've been looking everywhere for you." I looked up at him, this man I'd given 11 months of my life to, whose bed I'd shared just last night, and felt something inside me crack open. "Who's he, Bennett?" I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. His expression flickered, so briefly I might have missed it if I hadn't been watching for it. Confusion, then recognition, then the smooth reassurance I'd come to rely on. "My ex-wife's been causing problems again." He sighed, reaching for my hand. "I'm sorry about that. She's been unstable since I left." I pulled my hand away. Funny, because according to these, I turned my phone screen toward him, showing the family photo. "You haven't left at all." The mask slipped. For one unguarded moment I saw it, calculation behind those warm brown eyes I'd once found so trustworthy. "Let's not do this here," he said, glancing around at our colleagues who were starting to notice our tense exchange. "It's complicated, Alyssa. Let me explain everything somewhere private." "Complicated?" I laughed, the sound harsh even to my own ears. "Is that what you call lying to my face for almost a year?" Callie appeared at my side, her presence solid and reassuring. "Everything okay here?" "No," I said, not taking my eyes off Jason. "Nothing is okay." Jason's jaw tightened. "Alyssa, please, you're making a scene." "I'm making a scene?" My voice rose despite my efforts to control it. "You told me you were divorced. You told me your ex-wife was difficult and bitter, and that's why you never introduced us." "Lower your voice," he hissed, reaching for my arm. I jerked away. "Don't touch me." People were definitely staring now. In my peripheral vision, I saw Reese from accounting, watching with undisguised interest. Tomorrow, this would be all over the office. "You need to calm down," Jason said, his CEO voice emerging, the one he used to shut down opposition in meetings. "And you need to explain why your wife thinks you're celebrating your anniversary next week." I scrolled to the text screenshot and held it up. "Or why you filed joint taxes last month when you told me your divorce was final in June." His face hardened. "This isn't the place." "Then where is the place, Jason? Your actual home with your actual wife? Callie's hand found my shoulder, squeezing gently. Alyssa, maybe we should go. The fire department's letting people back in to get their things. I nodded, suddenly exhausted. The adrenaline that had propelled my confrontation was ebbing, leaving behind a hollow ache in my chest. We're not done discussing this, Jason said, his voice low. There are things you don't understand. I understand perfectly. I turned away, letting Callie guide me toward the hotel entrance. We retrieved our coats and bags in silence. My mind raced through every moment with Jason, every promise, every intimate confession, all of it tainted now, all of it suspect. Want to talk about it? Callie asked as we waited for our Uber. Not yet. I stared at my phone, scrolling through the rest of Eloise's email. The final paragraph stopped my breath. If you're wondering why I'm telling you this now, it's because I found something in Jason's private accounts yesterday. He's been embezzling from the company, your company, for years. The evidence is in his home office. I'm done protecting him, and I thought you should know exactly who you're dealing with before he drags you down too. My mind whirled with implications. If this was true, if Jason was stealing from the company, it explained so much. The mysterious budget shortfalls and projects he oversaw. The financial reviews he'd postponed repeatedly. The way he'd discouraged me from looking too closely at certain accounts. The Uber arrived, its headlights cutting through the night. As I climbed in, my phone buzzed with a text from Jason. This isn't what it looks like. Meet me tomorrow. I can explain everything. I turned off my phone without replying. Something cold and determined settled in my chest, replacing the hurt with something harder, something sharper. Jason Bennett had destroyed my trust. Now I would destroy him. I called in sick the next day. The thought of facing office whispers and pitying glances made my stomach turn. Instead, I sat cross-legged on my couch, laptop balanced on my knees, systematically erasing Jason from my life, untagging photos, deleting messages, removing his playlists from my Spotify. My phone buzzed for the 12th time that morning. Jason again. I silenced it without reading the message and returned to my digital purge. A knock at my door startled me. I froze, wondering if Jason had decided to bring his explanations in person. The knock came again, more insistent. Alyssa, it's me. Open up. Callie's voice. I exhaled and shuffled to the door in my oversized sweater and leggings, hair piled messily on top of my head. Callie stood there holding a paper bag that smelled like cinnamon and coffee. You look like hell, she said, pushing past me into the apartment. Thanks. I feel worse. I closed the door and followed her to the kitchen. She unpacked breakfast, almond croissants and 2 large coffees, and studied me with narrowed eyes. So, are we burning his stuff or what? A laugh escaped me, surprising us both. I don't have much of his stuff. He was careful about that. Of course he was. She slid a coffee toward me. Married men usually are. The word married hit me like a physical blow. I wrapped my hands around the warm cup, anchoring myself. Have you talked to him? Callie asked. No, he's called, texted, emailed. I took a sip of coffee, welcoming the bitter heat. I'm not ready to hear whatever lies he's prepared. Callie broke a croissant in half, flaky layers separating under her fingers. What are you going to do about work? Everyone saw your fight. Fantastic, I groaned. Is Reese having a field day? Let's just say she's not downplaying what she witnessed. Callie hesitated. Isaiah was asking about you, my mentor, the man whose respect meant everything to me professionally. What did he say? He wanted to make sure you were okay, said to tell you to take whatever time you need. She paused. But Alyssa, there's something else. Something about the embezzlement claim. My head snapped up. What about it? I overheard Isaiah talking to the CFO. There's an internal investigation happening. They didn't mention Jason specifically, but they were discussing financial irregularities in the executive accounts. My mind raced. If Eloise was right about the embezzlement, Jason wasn't just a cheating husband. He was a criminal. And I had been sleeping with him, confiding in him, trusting him with sensitive information about my projects and clients. I need proof, I said, more to myself than to Callie. Proof of what? That he's married? You already have that. No, the embezzlement. If he's stealing from the company, that's my leverage. I met Callie's concerned gaze. I need to talk to someone in IT. You mean Riker? She raised an eyebrow. The guy who stares at you in every meeting. He doesn't stare. I felt my cheeks warm. And yes, Riker. He has access to the financial systems. This sounds dangerous, Alyssa. If Jason is embezzling and you start poking around, what's he going to do? Fire me? Cheat on me? I stood up, sudden energy coursing through me. I'm already at rock bottom. The only way is up. 2 hours later, I sat in a corner booth at a coffee shop 6 blocks from the office, nervously shredding a napkin. The door chimed, and Riker walked in, his tall frame and dark curls instantly recognizable. He spotted me and wove between tables, sliding into the seat across from me. This is very cloak and dagger, he said with a half smile. Secret coffee meetings during work hours. Thanks for coming. I pushed a coffee toward him. I wasn't sure you would. A cryptic text from Melissa asking for urgent help. Wouldn't miss it. His smile faded as he studied my face. You look like you haven't slept. That obvious, huh? I tried to smile but couldn't quite manage it. What's going on? Your message said it was important. I took a deep breath. What I'm about to ask you is probably against company policy, possibly illegal. If you want to walk away, I completely understand. Riker leaned forward, voice dropping. Is this about Jason? The question caught me off guard. How did you... Everyone saw what happened at the party. His expression darkened. And it's not the first time he's done this. Done what exactly? Dated employees while hiding the fact he's married. Riker's fingers tapped a restless rhythm on the table. There was someone in accounting before you, and an intern before her. A pattern. Of course there was a pattern. I swallowed hard against the humiliation rising in my throat. I need access to the financial records Jason oversees, I said, forcing myself to focus. I have reason to believe he's been embezzling company funds. Riker's eyes widened. That's a serious accusation. I know. That's why I need proof, not just suspicion. He was quiet for a long moment, considering. I could lose my job for this. I understand. Like I said, you can walk away. I didn't say I wouldn't help. His eyes met mine, something fierce and determined in them. Jason Bennett isn't who everyone thinks he is. I've been waiting for a chance to prove it. What do you mean? Riker glanced around before leaning closer. 2 years ago, my sister worked in HR. She found discrepancies in executive expense reports, specifically Jason's. When she raised concerns, she was fired within a week, officially for performance issues. Understanding dawned. This is personal for you. Yes. His jaw tightened. So what exactly are we looking for? As I outlined what I needed, something shifted inside me. The hurt and betrayal were still there, but alongside them grew something new, a cold, clear purpose. This wasn't just about a man who had lied to me. This was about justice. I can get you what you need, Riker said finally. But Alyssa, be careful. If Jason realizes what you're doing, I know the risks. What I didn't say was that I welcomed them. For the first time since reading Eloise's email, I felt something other than pain. I felt powerful. 3 days later, I returned to work with armor carefully constructed, a crisp black pantsuit, hair pulled back in a sleek ponytail, makeup applied with precision to hide the shadows under my eyes. I'd rehearsed responses to potential questions, prepared neutral expressions, and steeled myself against the inevitable gossip. What I hadn't prepared for was the silence. Conversations hushed as I walked through the marketing department. Glances slid away from mine. Even Reese, who thrived on office drama, merely watched me with calculating eyes as I passed her desk. Welcome back, Isaiah said when I knocked on his office door. His smile seemed genuine, but something in his eyes, concern, maybe pity, made my spine stiffen. Thanks. I had that stomach bug going around. The lie tasted bitter. Of course. He gestured to the chair across from his desk. Have a seat. We should discuss the Peterson campaign. For 20 minutes, we talked strictly business. Isaiah reviewed my proposal, suggested minor adjustments, and approved the budget. Normal, professional. As if he hadn't witnessed my public meltdown with the CEO. As I gathered my notes to leave, he finally broached the subject. Alyssa, about what happened at the holiday party. I'd rather not discuss my personal life at work, I cut in, my tone sharper than intended. Isaiah leaned back, studying me. Fair enough, but as your mentor, I need to say this. Be careful about the battles you choose. Some aren't worth fighting. A chill ran through me. What does that mean? It means Jason has a lot of influence in this industry. I'd hate to see your career affected by personal complications. The warning was clear, wrapped in concern though it was. Don't rock the boat. Don't challenge the powerful. Don't make waves. Thank you for your concern, I said, standing, but I can handle my own battles. Back at my desk, I found an email from Riker with the subject line, Coffee again? The message contained only a time, 3:30 p.m., and a different cafe address. At 3:25, I slipped out, telling Callie I needed air. The cafe was smaller than our previous meeting spot, tucked between a bookstore and a vintage clothing shop. Riker sat in the farthest corner, a laptop open before him. Did anyone see you leave? He asked as I sat down. I don't think so. Why the paranoia? He turned his laptop toward me. Because I found something. Several somethings, actually. The screen showed a spreadsheet of financial transfers, dates, amounts, account numbers. Nothing immediately incriminating to my untrained eye. What am I looking at? These are transfers from the company's operational fund to various vendor accounts. His finger traced a column of numbers. Except these vendors don't exist. The money goes to shell companies, then gets moved offshore. My heart raced. And you can prove Jason is behind this? That's where it gets complicated. Riker scrolled to another document. The authorizations come from his department, but they're executed using the CFO's credentials. Either they're working together, or Jason is setting someone else up to take the fall. I finished his thought, the pieces clicking together. Exactly. Riker looked grim. There's more. I tracked some of these transfers to personal accounts. One belongs to Jason, but another... He hesitated. Another what? Another is in your name. The cafe seemed to tilt around me. That's impossible. I don't have any offshore accounts. According to these records, you do. Opened 6 months ago, with regular deposits coinciding with these unauthorized transfers. My stomach dropped. He's framing me. It looks that way. Riker closed his laptop. If this embezzlement comes to light, the evidence points to you as his accomplice. I pressed my fingers to my temples, trying to think through the implications. Can you trace when these accounts were created? IP addresses, anything? I'm working on it, but whoever did this covered their tracks well. He paused. Alyssa, you need to be careful. This is bigger than an office affair gone wrong. I know. My voice sounded distant to my own ears. Thank you for risking this. Riker's hand briefly covered mine. We'll figure it out. The touch was unexpected, warm and reassuring. I pulled away, uncomfortable with the intimacy and the complication it suggested. I should get back before people notice I'm gone. Outside, the winter air bit at my cheeks as I walked briskly back to the office. My mind raced with this new information. Jason hadn't just lied about his marriage. He'd potentially set me up to take the fall for his crimes. As I approached the building, a sleek black car pulled up beside me. The window rolled down, revealing a face I recognized from photographs but had never seen in person. Eloise Bennett. Get in, she said, her voice calm but commanding. We need to talk. I hesitated, every instinct screaming caution. If you want to avoid prison for embezzlement, you'll hear what I have to say. Her perfectly manicured hand pushed the door open wider. My heart hammered against my ribs. How did she know about the embezzlement evidence? About my supposed involvement? 5 minutes, I said, sliding into the leather seat beside her. The car pulled away from the curb. Eloise studied me with cool appraisal, her blonde hair falling in elegant waves around a face that was beautiful in a sharp, intimidating way. "So you're the latest one," she said finally. "I'm not the latest anything," I replied, anger flaring. "I'm the woman your husband lied to for nearly a year." A small smile curved her lips. "Good, you've got fire, you'll need it." "What do you want from me?" "An alliance." She reached into her designer handbag and withdrew a flash drive. "This contains evidence of Jason's embezzlement going back 3 years, evidence that clears you and implicates him beyond doubt." I stared at the small device. "Why would you help me?" "Because I want the same thing you do." Her eyes, the same warm brown as Jason's but infinitely colder, locked with mine. "I want to destroy him, and I can't do it alone." The flash drive sat between us like a loaded gun. "Why now?" I asked. "Why not turn him in years ago?" "Because now I have you, someone with inside access and a personal vendetta." She leaned closer. "So what's it going to be, Alyssa? Are you in, or are you going to let him ruin you like he's ruined so many others?" I reached for the flash drive, my decision made before my fingers closed around it. "We need to meet," I texted Jason, after examining the contents of Eloise's flash drive. The evidence was damning. Emails, account transfers, and recordings that proved his embezzlement scheme and his deliberate attempt to frame me. His response came immediately. "My office, 7 p.m. I forwarded copies of everything to both my personal email and to Riker as insurance, then spent the afternoon rehearsing what I would say. By 6:55 p.m., most employees had left for the day. I stood outside Jason's corner office, smoothing my blazer and taking deep breaths. Through the glass wall, I could see him at his desk, phone pressed to his ear, gesturing emphatically. When he spotted me, he ended his call abruptly and waved me in. "Alyssa." He stood, coming around his desk with arms outstretched as if to embrace me. I stepped back. "Don't." His arms dropped, but his smile remained, that practiced, charismatic smile that had once made my heart race. Now it just made my skin crawl. "I've been worried about you," he said, perching on the edge of his desk. "You haven't returned my calls." "I've been busy." I remained standing, maintaining distance between us, learning some interesting things about you. Something flickered in his eyes. Caution, perhaps, but his expression remained concerned, sincere. "I know you're upset about Eloise. I should have been honest about the status of my divorce." "Stop." I held up a hand. "Let's not waste time with lies. I know about the embezzlement, Jason. I know about the offshore accounts. And I know you tried to set me up to take the fall." The transformation was instant. The warm concern vanished, replaced by something cold and calculating. He straightened, no longer the apologetic lover, but the executive assessing a threat. "That's quite an accusation." His voice had dropped an octave. "Do you have any idea what you're saying?" "I have every idea." I pulled out my phone, opened one of the audio files from the flash drive, and played it. Jason's voice discussing moving funds through shell companies with someone whose voice I didn't recognize. He listened, face impassive. When the recording ended, he sighed and walked to the window overlooking the city. "Who else knows about this?" he asked, his back to me. "That depends on what happens next." He turned, studying me with new eyes, not as a lover or even an adversary, but as a business problem to solve. "What do you want, Alyssa? Money? A promotion?" The casual way he offered a bribe made my blood boil. "I want you to remove my name from any accounts you've created. I want written confirmation that I had no knowledge of or involvement in your scheme." A small smile played at his lips. "Is that all? And I want you to resign, quietly. No golden parachute, no cushy landing at another company." He laughed then, a genuine sound of amusement that echoed in the large office. That's not going to happen. Then I take this to the board and the police. With what evidence? Recordings that could easily be manipulated. Financial documents you could have fabricated. He moved closer, confidence radiating from him. Who do you think they'll believe? The CEO with a spotless reputation, or the scorned woman he broke up with? Broke up with? I repeated incredulously. That's the narrative, Alyssa. We had a brief affair. I ended it. You became obsessed, vindictive. He shrugged. It's already making the rounds, thanks to our friend Reese. My stomach dropped. What are you talking about? Check your work email. HR sent a message about appropriate workplace relationships this afternoon. Not naming names, of course, but everyone knows who it's about. I pulled out my phone and saw the email. A company-wide reminder about the policy against harassment and creating hostile work environments. The timing wasn't coincidental. You're setting me up as the unstable ex, I realized aloud. It's nothing personal. He returned to his desk, the picture of a man unbothered. Just business. This isn't over, I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. It is, though. He sat down, already turning his attention to his computer. I'd start looking for another job if I were you. Your reputation here is compromised. I left his office with my hands shaking, not from fear, but from rage. In the elevator, I checked my phone and found a text from Callie. We need to talk, now. I met her in the parking garage, where she paced beside her car. What the hell is going on? She demanded when she saw me. HR is asking questions about you and Jason. Reese is telling everyone you're having some kind of breakdown. It's complicated, I began. No shit. She crossed her arms. I'm your friend, Alyssa. Talk to me. I hesitated, weighing how much to reveal. Jason is trying to discredit me because I found out something he doesn't want exposed. The embezzlement? I stared at her. How do you... Because I've been helping Isaiah gather evidence for months. She lowered her voice. The CFO noticed discrepancies last year. They've been building a case quietly. My mind reeled. Why didn't you tell me? Isaiah thought you might be involved because of your relationship with Jason. Her expression softened at my shock. I told him that was ridiculous, but he insisted on keeping you in the dark until they were certain. And now they're ready to move, but Jason seems to be setting you up to take the blame. She unlocked her car. Get in. There's someone you need to meet. Who? The real whistleblower, the person who first noticed the missing funds. She slid into the driver's seat. Riker's sister. As we drove away from the office, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Change of plans. Jason knows we're working together. Meet me at the Harborview Hotel, room 712, Eloise. I stared at the message, a chill running down my spine. If Jason knew about my alliance with his wife, what else did he know? And more importantly, what was he planning to do about it? We need to make a stop first, I told Callie, showing her the text. I think we're running out of time. The Harborview Hotel loomed ahead, its glass facade reflecting the city lights like a wall of stars. Callie pulled into the parking garage, killing the engine with a concerned glance my way. I still think this is a bad idea, she said. Meeting Eloise alone after that text, it screams trap. That's why you're here. I checked my phone again. No new messages. If I'm not back in 30 minutes, call Riker. Why not just call the police? With what? We need more concrete evidence before involving them. I unbuckled my seatbelt. Besides, if Jason is setting me up, the last thing I need is to look more unstable by making accusations I can't prove. Callie grabbed my arm. Just be careful. Jason's already showing how far he'll go to protect himself. The elevator ride to the 7th floor gave me time to rehearse what I'd say to Eloise. We needed to coordinate our approach, especially now that Jason knew we were working together. The hallway was quiet, my footsteps muffled by plush carpeting as I approached room 712. I knocked softly. No answer. I knocked again, louder. Eloise? It's Alyssa. Still nothing. Unease prickled along my spine. I tried the handle, unlocked. The door swung open to reveal a dimly lit suite, curtains drawn against the night. Eloise? The room appeared empty, the bed still made, no personal items visible. I stepped inside, letting the door close behind me. Something felt wrong. I was wondering if you'd come. I whirled around. Jason stood by the bathroom door, his expression unreadable in the low light. Where's Eloise? I demanded, backing toward the exit. Not here, obviously. He moved into the room, blocking my path to the door. She didn't send that text. My heart hammered against my ribs. What do you want? To negotiate. He gestured to the small table by the window. Have a seat. I'll stand. Always so stubborn. He sighed, loosening his tie. That's what I liked about you, Alyssa. Your determination, your unwillingness to back down. Save the compliments. You've made your position clear. Have I? He moved closer, and I resisted the urge to step back. Because I think there's been a misunderstanding. I don't want to be your enemy. You framed me for embezzlement and told HR I'm having a breakdown. That's pretty hostile. Insurance policies. He shrugged. You threatened me. I protected myself. That's business. This isn't business. This is my life you're messing with. And you're messing with mine. For the first time, his calm facade cracked, revealing something harder beneath. Do you have any idea what I've built, what I've sacrificed? Your integrity, your marriage, the company's financial stability. I crossed my arms. Quite the empire of sand, Jason. His jaw tightened. I want the flash drive Eloise gave you. So he did know about that. I don't have it with me. Don't lie to me. He stepped closer, invading my space. Eloise is trying to ruin me in our divorce. She's using you. Like you used me. I held my ground despite the alarm bells ringing in my head. At least she was honest about her intentions. Something dangerous flashed in his eyes. Last chance, Alyssa. Give me the drive, sign an NDA, and this all goes away. You keep your job, your reputation, everything. And if I refuse, then I destroy you. His voice was soft, almost regretful. The embezzlement evidence points to you. HR already thinks you're unstable. It wouldn't take much to convince everyone you fabricated evidence against me out of spite. The room seemed to close in around me. He was right, he held all the cards. My word against his. And he had the company's trust, resources, and a head start on controlling the narrative. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Callie, probably wondering if I was okay. The reminder of her waiting outside steadied me. You're forgetting something, I said, finding my voice again. I'm not alone in this. Eloise has copies of everything. So does Riker. And now, so does Isaiah. Uncertainty flickered across his face. You're bluffing. Am I? Callie told me tonight that Isaiah and the CFO have been building a case against you for months. They know about the offshore accounts, the shell companies, all of it. He stared at me, recalculating. Isaiah wouldn't. He already has. Why do you think he's been asking so many questions about the Peterson account? That's where you've been hiding most of the transfers, right? It was a shot in the dark based on what Riker had shown me, but Jason's expression confirmed I'd hit the mark. It's over, Jason, I continued, gaining confidence. The board meeting tomorrow? They're not reviewing quarterly projections. They're reviewing evidence against you. His composure crumbled completely. You have no idea what you've done. I know exactly what I've done. I've stopped you from making me your scapegoat. I moved toward the door, keeping my eyes on him. Now, if you'll excuse me. His hand shot out, gripping my arm with bruising force. You're not going anywhere until we resolve this. Fear surged through me, but I kept my voice steady. Let go of me, or I scream and bring hotel security running. And tell them what? That your married ex-boyfriend is being mean to you. His grip tightened. Who do you think they'll believe? The door burst open behind us. Callie stood there, Riker at her shoulder. Everything okay in here? Riker asked. his normally gentle demeanor replaced by something harder as he assessed the situation. Jason released my arm immediately, stepping back with a forced smile. "Just having a private conversation." "Looks like it's over," Callie said, her eyes fixed on the red marks forming on my arm. I moved toward them, relief washing over me. We were just leaving. As we turned to go, Jason called after me. "This isn't finished, Alyssa. You have until morning to reconsider." I paused in the doorway, turning to face him one last time. "You're right about one thing, Jason. This isn't finished. But I'm not the one who should be worried about tomorrow." In the elevator, my legs finally gave out. I leaned against the wall, shaking. "What happened in there?" Callie demanded. "He knows everything," I said, my voice unsteady. "And he's desperate." Riker's expression darkened. "That makes him dangerous." "It also means we're winning," I replied, straightening as the elevator reached the lobby. "And tomorrow we end this." Morning arrived with a text from Isaiah. "Boardroom, 9 a.m. Come prepared." I hadn't slept. After leaving the hotel, Callie had insisted I stay at her place, worried Jason might show up at my apartment. We'd spent hours reviewing the evidence with Riker and his sister Mia, the original whistleblower who'd been silenced 2 years ago. "You don't have to do this," Callie said as we pulled into the office parking garage at 8:45. "The board has enough evidence without you putting yourself in the crosshairs." I checked my reflection in the visor mirror. I'd chosen my outfit carefully, a navy suit that projected confidence and professionalism. Nothing that could be dismissed as emotional or unstable. "I need to be there," I said, applying a final touch of lipstick. "This isn't just about the embezzlement anymore. It's about all the people he's hurt." The elevator ride to the executive floor felt endless. My phone buzzed with a message from Riker. "In position. Good luck." The boardroom doors loomed ahead, heavy wood panels that suddenly seemed impossibly intimidating. I hesitated, my hand on the handle, doubt creeping in. What if Jason had gotten to the board first? What if they believed him over me? A voice behind me made me jump. "They're waiting for you." I turned to find Eloise standing there, elegant in a cream pantsuit, her expression unreadable. "You're here," I said stupidly. "Of course I am." She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Jason came to my house last night after your meeting. He was unhinged. Threatened to ruin me if I testified today." A chill ran through me. "Are you still going to?" "Watch me." She pushed past me and opened the door. Inside, the board members sat around the massive table, expressions grave. Isaiah nodded slightly when he saw me. The CFO shuffled papers nervously. And at the head of the table, looking completely composed, sat Jason. "Ah, the gang's all here," he said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Shall we begin?" I took a seat as far from him as possible, Eloise doing the same on the opposite side. The board chair, an older woman named Vivian, cleared her throat. "This emergency meeting has been called to address serious allegations regarding financial improprieties." Her gaze swept the room. "Isaiah, as you requested this meeting, perhaps you should start." Isaiah stood, distributing folders to each board member. "For the past 6 months, the finance team has been tracking unusual transfers from our operational accounts to what appear to be vendor payments, but which we've discovered are shell companies." As he detailed the evidence, I watched Jason. He remained perfectly still, his expression neutral, occasionally nodding, as if considering the information objectively. The perfect picture of an executive hearing troubling news for the first time. "These are serious allegations," Vivian said when Isaiah finished. "Jason, what do you have to say?" Jason straightened, his expression appropriately concerned. "I'm as disturbed as everyone else by what I'm hearing. If these transfers occurred, they happened without my knowledge or approval." "That's a lie," I said, unable to contain myself. All eyes turned to me. "Ms. Reynolds," Vivian said, "you'll have your turn to speak." "Actually," Jason interjected smoothly, "I think it's important to address Ms. Reynolds' presence here. As some of you may know, We had a brief personal relationship that ended recently. These accusations appear to be motivated by personal animus rather than fact. The room temperature seemed to drop. I felt the weight of skeptical gazes, saw the slight shifts in posture as board members reconsidered the situation. "That's quite convenient," Eloise said, her voice cutting through the tension. "Discredit the witness by suggesting she's emotionally compromised." Jason's smile tightened. "Eloise, always a pleasure. I assume you're here because of the divorce proceedings." "I'm here because you've been stealing from this company for years," she replied coolly. "And I have proof." She opened her laptop and turned it toward the board. "These are recordings of Jason discussing the embezzlement scheme with his accomplice, Reese from accounting." The room fell silent as Jason's voice filled the air, discussing offshore accounts and how to disguise transfers. When the recording ended, all eyes turned to him. His composure cracked slightly. "These are clearly manipulated. Eloise has every reason to fabricate evidence, given our contentious divorce." "They're not manipulated," I said, finding my voice again. "And I'm not the only one with copies." On cue, the door opened. Riker entered, followed by Mia and, to my surprise, the head of IT security. "We've verified the authenticity of the recordings," the IT head stated, "and we've traced the creation of the offshore accounts to Mr. Bennett's personal devices." Jason stood abruptly. "This is absurd, a conspiracy to—" "There's more," I interrupted, pulling out my phone. "Last night, Jason threatened me at the Harborview Hotel, room 7112. He demanded I hand over evidence and sign an NDA. I played the recording I'd secretly made during our confrontation, capturing his threats and admission that he'd tried to frame me." The color drained from Jason's face as his own words condemned him. He looked around the room, finding no allies. "You recorded me without consent," he tried, his voice hollow. "Single-party consent state," Isaiah replied. "Perfectly legal." Jason's eyes locked with mine, hatred burning in them. "You think you've won?" "This isn't about winning," I said, meeting his gaze steadily. "It's about truth." He lunged suddenly, reaching across the table toward me. Board members gasped, chairs scraping as people moved back. But before he could reach me, security officers appeared at the door. Riker had positioned them there in advance. "Jason Bennett," one officer said, "we need you to come with us." As they escorted him out, his mask finally shattered completely. "This isn't over," he shouted, struggling against their grip. "You'll regret this, Alyssa. All of you." The door closed behind them, his threats fading down the hallway. In the sudden silence, I realized I was shaking, not from fear but from relief. It was over. Vivian cleared her throat. "I think we've seen enough. The board will need to discuss next steps, including involving the authorities." As people began to file out, Eloise approached me. "Not bad," she said, the ghost of a smile on her lips. "For an amateur." "Is that a compliment?" I asked. "Take it however you want." She gathered her things. "Just know that men like Jason, they don't stay down for long. Watch your back." With that cryptic warning, she left, leaving me alone with Isaiah. "You did well," he said, squeezing my shoulder. "I'm sorry I couldn't tell you we were building a case." "I understand why you didn't." And surprisingly, I did. "What happens now?" "Now?" He glanced toward the window, where the morning sun illuminated the city. "Now we rebuild." The office felt different as I packed my desk. Not because of the whispers that followed me through the hallways, or the awkward smiles from colleagues who didn't know what to say to the woman who'd brought down their CEO. It felt different, because I was different. "You don't have to do this," Isaiah said, leaning against my doorframe. "The board specifically stated they want you to stay." I placed my awards and certificates into a cardboard box. "I know, but I need a fresh start. The interim CEO position is still on the table." He stepped into my office, closing the door behind him. "You're the most qualified person to help rebuild after Jason's damage." I paused, considering the offer I'd already declined twice. "I'm flattered, but my decision is made." At least tell me where you're going. That's the beauty of it, I don't know yet. I smiled, feeling lighter than I had in months. But I've got some ideas. A knock interrupted us. Riker stood in the doorway, a flash drive in hand. Sorry to interrupt, he said, but you need to see this before you go. I glanced at Isaiah, who nodded and stepped out, giving us privacy. What is it? I asked as Riker plugged the drive into my computer. I've been digging through Jason's personal files since his arrest. He pulled up a folder labeled Contingencies. He kept detailed records on everyone he considered a threat or an asset. The folder contained subfolders with names, board members, executives, even Isaiah, and me. He started your file the day you were hired, Riker said quietly, long before your relationship began. I clicked through documents spanning 3 years, performance evaluations, personal details, even photos of me at company events. A chill ran through me as I realized the extent of Jason's calculation. He targeted you from the beginning, Riker continued. Your file has notes about your ambition, your trust issues, even your dating history. He was studying you, looking for vulnerabilities. Why me? My voice sounded distant to my own ears. Because of this. He opened another document, an organizational chart with succession planning notes. My name was highlighted as a high potential risk for his position. He saw you as a threat, Riker said. The affair wasn't just personal, it was strategic. Keep your enemies closer. The revelation should have devastated me, but instead, I felt an unexpected surge of pride. Jason Bennett, master manipulator and predator, had feared me enough to try to control me. There's something else, Riker hesitated. About Eloise. He opened another file containing email exchanges between Jason and Eloise, dated just weeks before the holiday party. My eyes widened as I read their coordinated plans. Jason would seduce me, Eloise would expose him, and together they would use my reaction to discredit me professionally. They were working together, I whispered, until Jason double-crossed her too. He was embezzling from their joint accounts, as well as the company. I leaned back in my chair, processing this final betrayal. So when she approached me, she was still following their original plan, just with a new motivation. Riker closed the files. I thought you should know the whole truth before you leave. Thank you. I stood, suddenly eager to be gone from this place of manipulation and lies. As I carried my box through the marketing department one last time, Callie fell into step beside me. Dinner tonight? She asked. A proper send-off? Actually, I have plans. I smiled at her surprised expression. Don't worry, I'll call you tomorrow with all the details. Outside, the spring air felt clean and new. I placed my box in my car and checked the time, just enough to make my appointment. The restaurant was small and elegant, tucked away from the main business district. I spotted her immediately, sitting alone at a corner table. You came, Eloise said as I slid into the seat across from her. I wasn't sure you would after everything. I almost didn't. I studied her face, searching for signs of the calculation I now knew had been there all along. Riker found the emails, Eloise. I know you and Jason planned to use me from the beginning. She didn't flinch. Yes, we did. Why tell me to meet you today? Why not just disappear? She took a sip of her wine before answering. Because despite how it started, I find myself respecting you, and because I have a proposition. Another one? I laughed without humor. I think I've had enough of those to last a lifetime. This one's different. She reached into her bag and pulled out a business card, sliding it across the table. I'm starting a consulting firm specializing in corporate fraud detection. I need a partner who understands both the business and the personal sides of deception. I stared at the card, then back at her. You can't be serious. Completely serious. We'd make an excellent team. You manipulated me, used me as a pawn in your game with Jason, and you turned the tables on both of us. A genuine smile curved her lips. That's exactly why I want to work with you. I should have walked out, should have told her exactly what I thought of her proposition. Instead, I found myself considering it. Why would I ever trust you? I asked. You shouldn't. Not completely. Just like I won't fully trust you. She leaned forward. But imagine what we could accomplish together. Two women who've seen behind the curtain of power and manipulation. I picked up the business card, turning it over in my fingers. I'll think about it. That's all I ask. She signaled for the check. Take your time. Unlike Jason, I understand the value of patience. As she walked away, I remained at the table, the business card still in my hand. 6 months ago, I'd been a woman defined by what others wanted from me. Jason's lover, the company's rising star, the perfect employee. Now I was something else entirely, a woman who had walked through fire and emerged not just unburned, but illuminated. I slipped the card into my pocket and stepped out into the evening light. Whatever I decided, about Eloise, about my career, about my future, one thing was certain. The choice would be mine alone, made with clear eyes and on my own terms. Some fires don't destroy, they transform.